What's going on, baseball fans? Jeremy Laracuente here for the Baseball Banter Broadcast. And on this broadcast, we're going to be bantering about 23 baseball people to watch in the 2023 season. This is a list that we have up on a corresponding article on laracuenteledger.com. So links to that video, to that article will be down in the show notes of this video, the description below. So we're going to go in. This list is done in alphabetical order. No other reason for the ordering other than alphabetical. So we're going to go in. We're going to go through all 23 really quickly here. Again, if you want to see more details on why each one was selected, head over to laracuenteledger.com and you can check that out. But we begin number one with the Angelos family. The Baltimore Orioles are speculated to be inquiring about potentially selling the team. So it's going to be interesting to see what this family does in terms of whether or not they're going to maintain ownership control over the Baltimore Orioles. Number two on the list is Trevor Bauer. Obviously, with all of the things that have gone down with Bauer, whether or not he continues his major league career or his professional baseball career is going to be something that we have to pay attention to, see what else happens with his situation. Number three is Chaim Bloom of the Boston Red Sox. This was a player, personnel, a front office executive that has not had the greatest of time since taking over his current position. On laracuenteledger.com, we have an article up about kind of the rough situation that Chaim Bloom has had since he has taken over in Boston, and it hasn't been anything pretty. So definitely something to pay attention to as the season progresses. Now, number four on the list is Bruce Bochy. Now, this is a two-part kind of concern and watchfulness for Bruce Bochy. Obviously, we've seen one Hall of Fame manager come out of retirement in Tony La Russa last season. It didn't work out well for him health-wise, and we're going to have to wait and see how this plays out for Bochy in terms of a health perspective, but also how is he going to manage the Texas Rangers. They have been a team that has been super aggressive this offseason, so it's going to be interesting to see kind of how he manages that going forward. Number five on my list is Aaron Boone. There's a ton of just speculation and things about Aaron Boone each and every offseason from baseball fans, from Yankee fans, and myself included. It's been a very evident thing each and every single season that I turn to Boone as part of the reason why the Yankees have been unsuccessful. I think that the success that the Yankees have had to this point under Boone's tenure as manager has been in spite of Aaron Boone, not because of him. So it'll be interesting to watch how things play out for him in 2023. Following up, another Yankee personnel, and that's Brian Cashman. Again, with Cashman, there's a ton of just fan backlash each and every offseason when we feel like he hasn't done enough. This is a guy who has been in his position for a very long time, which when you think about the time spent working under the boss, George Steinbrenner, this is an absolutely incredible opportunity, the fact that he's been there this long. But there starts to be a feeling of there hasn't been any change in the way that Cashman has kind of tried to put the team together over the last several years, and it hasn't worked. So it's going to be interesting to see now with having some other general manager, executive types in his ear, in Brian Sabean and Omar Minaya, how much different the team could possibly look and feel in 2023. Number seven on my list is Steve Cohen of the New York Mets. The owner of the New York Mets has been super aggressive this offseason. He has been spending so much money, and it absolutely is quite crazy to think about just how much money he has already spent on this team, not just to acquire them, but also investing on the on-field product this season alone, let alone the financial commitments for the rest of the next decade or so. But literally just for the 2023 season, there's been already so much money given out by this man. It's going to be interesting to see how much more he's willing to pay and to dish out between the luxury tax penalties, the payroll itself going forward this season. Number 8 on my list is Carlos Correa. When you look at Correa, this is a guy who has had arguably the most interesting baseball offseason of any player ever. To be able to have gone on to technically sign with 3 teams this offseason and only landing with one, and the shortest term deal, the least amount of money in the deal. It's going to be interesting to see kind of how he plays out his 2023 season. And for that reason, this is definitely a player to watch in 2023. Number 9 on the list is Jacob deGrom. When you look at deGrom, he clearly did not want any part of being a New York Met any longer than he was. This is a guy who quickly pivoted, went to Texas, became the new ace of the Texas Rangers. And this is now a guy who's going in what I believe is a much lesser pressure situation in Texas than what he would have had with the New York Mets. I think there's an opportunity for deGrom to be healthy and get back to being the number 1 pitcher in baseball, but there's very little question that this is a guy that you definitely have to pay attention to in 2023 from both a performance perspective and just kind of the mental approach to having left New York to go to Texas to kind of take over the mantle there and be the leading force, the leading charge for potentially pushing the Rangers towards a postseason. Number 10 on my list is Josh Donaldson. Now, the reason that Donaldson is on this list is because he's constantly putting himself in controversial situations. This is a guy who offensively, his impact has really diminished. Is it possible that he could get that back in 2023? Sure. He was still a very good defender, very solid defender at the third base position, but there's always something around this player. The fact is that this guy has been on 5 different teams really in like the last 5-6 years. So there's really something about Josh Donaldson that constantly wants players and front office executives to kind of keep pushing him around. So it'll be interesting to see if he can stick it out and make something of the final few years of his career, or if this is the final hurrah for a guy who doesn't seem to be all that well liked. Now, number 11 on my list is Billy Epler. The reason Epler is here is because this is the guy making all the moves in terms of using Steve Cohen's money. The other thing about Billy Epler that is going to be very interesting is once the conclusion of the 2023 season is finished with, this was the guy that was the face of conversation with Shohei Ohtani, which was the reason why Ohtani signed with the Angels. Could it be that now the Mets have the leg up on being able to potentially sign the two-way superstar Shohei Ohtani because of Billy Epler? So definitely someone to watch in the baseball world in 2023. Number 12 on the list is Andrew Friedman, the front office executive for the Dodgers. This is a guy who is kind of catching a lot of slack. The Dodgers have been one of the most powerhouse teams in the regular season, but unable to really complete the mark in the postseason. Yes, they would win in the shortened 2020 campaign, but a lot of baseball fans don't really even think about that season as being real. But when you ask Dodgers fans, when you look at what they're saying on Twitter, it's not the greatest time right now with this front office, with this management, this coaching staff, and we'll get to more in the coaching staff from the Dodgers in a moment. But this is a guy who has a lot of pressure put on him right now to kind of solidify how great they are during the regular season and almost conversely how poorly they have played in the postseason. Now, that being said, they've done a lot. They've gotten to the World Series quite a bit, but they have only won in the short season. So it is looked at as somewhat of a failure. So can Andrew Friedman and the Dodgers kind of change that course, that mindset right now? Number 13 on the list is Jon Heyman. Yes, the New York Post reporter is constantly getting himself into quite a bit of kerfuffles on the social media, on Twitter, especially with this past offseason with the arson judge, whole tweet about him going to the Giants and being incorrect. But we've seen this from Heyman before, and this probably won't be the last time that he tries to jump out on information before everybody else that wasn't 100% accurate. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how he rebounds this season and if it kind of changes the narrative on him. Number 14 on my list is Aaron Judge himself. This is a guy who we have to see how he follows up the historic AL MVP winning 62 home run AL single season record breaking season of 2022. How he goes about his work in 2023, and if he can kind of even come close to matching those numbers or even possibly surpassing them in 2023. So definitely a player to watch. Number 15 on my list is Sarah Langs. For baseball fans, you know the situation that she is faced with. She has announced that she is battling Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS, and obviously, as one of the best baseball fans, especially if you follow her on Twitter, this is someone who genuinely loves the game with all her heart. And the research, the information that she puts out is second to none. So, all our best wishes and prayers to Sarah Langs. Definitely someone to watch in 2023. As we get to number 16 on the list, it is Rob Manfred. Now, obviously, Rob Manfred is a fan of the game of baseball, but no one in baseball is a fan of Rob Manfred. This is a guy who is trying to do things to change up the game, to try to better the situation of the game, to improve the pace of play. Now, are all the things that he is putting out and saying and doing the greatest? Absolutely not. But I do have to applaud him for his efforts in trying to make the game a bit more exciting, a bit more relevant to the younger audience. That being said, changing the entire course, the entire heart of the game is definitely not in the best interest of baseball. But without a doubt, Rob Manfred is someone to pay attention to in 2023. Now, number 17 on the list is Artie Moreno. Yes, the Angels have now come out and said that the Moreno family is going to maintain ownership. They are not looking to sell, despite having been reported that there were some buyers that were interested and several bids that were potentially made. So it's going to be interesting. Yes, the Angels are already committing the most money right now, as at the time of this recording, of any team in the American League West division. But just because you're committing a lot of dollars, most of that is tied to Mike Trout. When you look at what Trout and Ohtani's in-season financial commitment is, that's where the majority of this money that the Angels are spending this season is going to. Plus, there's going to be an opportunity for them to try to build out the rest of this roster in a much stronger way. Is Artie Moreno and the Angels really committed to trying to be competitive and win? Is something we'll have to watch in 2023. We stay in Anaheim with number 18, and it is Shohei Ohtani. When you look at Ohtani, this is going to be an absolutely monstrous season for him. On both sides of the ball, I think that Ohtani is going to go out there and try to give his absolute very best that we have ever seen. Being able to be a two-way superstar is already something that makes him such a unicorn in this sport. Being able to do pitching and hitting at such an elite level makes him such a fascinating character to watch. Not just because of the player that he is, but what he is going to command in terms of his presence in a potential trade market situation, but even more so following the conclusion of the season when he goes and becomes a free agent. Shohei Ohtani is going to command, without question, the largest contract in Major League Baseball, in all of sports, in my opinion. I believe that Shohei is likely going to end up with a $600 million contract. As crazy as that sounds, that to me is going to be the kind of final total that we're likely going to see for this player. That to me is what just partially, what makes him so interesting to watch in 2023. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the Dodgers coach, their manager, Dave Roberts, is number 19 on the list. This is when the announcement was made that Dave Roberts would be returning, that he would be the manager of the Dodgers in 2023. I put that out on our TikTok page, Baseball Banter Broadcast, and the fan vitriol, the backlash from that post was absolutely incredible to watch. There's no doubt about it that Dodgers fans are feeling lackluster when it comes to Dave Roberts and his ability. They don't believe in his managing skills to be able to kind of push this team over the edge to be a consistent World Series winner, not just to be able to make the postseason, That is something that is done over the course of 162 and does separate the Dodgers from most every other team. However, in the postseason, it really does come down sometimes to 2 or 3 key decisions by a manager as to who's coming in when, who's pinch hitting for who's coming in to play defense. And those things have seemingly not been in the favor of Dave Roberts. And to the backlash, to the vitriol of Dodger fans everywhere, Dave Roberts is someone to watch in 2023. Now, as we look at number 20 on my list, it is Hal Steinbrenner of the New York Yankees. I think that when you look at what Steinbrenner was this offseason specifically, this was the catalyst for Aaron Judge going back to the Bronx. Steinbrenner has also said that he is committed to spending whatever is necessary to really bolster this team to be able to make the Yankees a World Series winner. We would see it in him signing Anthony Rizzo super quickly, going out, getting Tommy Kahnle, and even more so when they acquired the services of Carlos Rodon. How much more Hal Steinbrenner and the Yankees are willing to commit to this 2023 team to try to make them a World Series winner, we'll have to wait and see. But for that reason, this is someone to watch in 2023. Now, next up on my list is Fernando Tatis Jr. This is a player that absolutely was a rising star in Major League Baseball. With the motorcycle accidents last offseason during the lockout, which led to a wrist injury, which then led to ultimately the PED suspension that we would be made aware of, we have to question who this player is and what we're actually going to be able to expect from him going forward. So for that reason, being able to have to be forced out of his shortstop position to go play the outfield now, he's a man without a home inside of a team and a place that he signed a very large contract to be at, both dollar-wise and years. The term of this deal is going to be very interesting to watch, but mostly what happens with him in 2023. Now, number 22 on my list is Mike Trout. This is arguably the greatest player that we have ever seen don a player cleats in this sport. But the one thing is that over the past couple of seasons, Trout has been absolutely unable to stay on the field for one reason or another. Not being able to complete 145, 150, 155 games in a season has really hindered Mike Trout's ability to be still called the best player in the game. You also have on his very own team a two-way superstar who is doing tremendous things offensively and on the mound. Trout does have the ability to be the best player in all of baseball history, without a doubt, in my opinion. I also believe that if he can be healthy and prove that he is healthy in 2023, this is going to be another monstrous season for Mike Trout. But again, it's going to be paying attention to seeing just how healthy Mike Trout will be in 2023. Now, we save ourselves for last. The 23rd baseball person, people, entity to watch is this channel here. Yes, a shameless and selfless plug, but I do believe that the 2023 season, this 2023 year, is going to be a big season for us here at the Baseball Banter Broadcast. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Do me a favor, if you haven't already done so, hit that subscribe button down below, as the majority of our audience that watches this channel is not subscribed. If you haven't already done so, hit that subscribe button down below, as well as the bell, to be notified each and every time we drop a new broadcast here on the Baseball Banter Broadcast. I want to thank you guys. If you want to show more support for the channel, you can follow us on our social media channels, on Twitter at banter_baseball, or on our Instagram or TikTok pages at Baseball Banter Broadcast. And if you want to show even more support beyond that, head over to our merchandise shop, baseballbanterbroadcast.com, where we have a ton of promo codes where you can save on our merchandise here for the Baseball Banter Broadcast. You can head over to our blog site, laracuenteledger.com, in which we have new articles up daily on the world of Major League Baseball, as well as many other things. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Keep it locked in all season long as we continue to do big things here at the Baseball Banter Broadcast, as well as covering the latest news, notes, and my personal thoughts, theories, and opinions on the game of Major League Baseball. Peace.